What's up, guys? Welcome to the podcast. This is the second episode. I got my friend, put my water over there. I got my friend Tommy here today, and he's an ecom brand owner. We've lifted a bunch. He's a client of mine, and it's just kind of like a chill episode with the boys, I guess you could say. We're gonna talk a little business, talk a little life,
just shoot
shit
the
like
shit.
that.
Yeah,
shoot the shit
too, right? I think we just kind of like linked up on Twitter on the timeline, talking a little trash, and then here we
I
go.
actually think you became a client first, and then we started doing that.
That's true.
Because I didn't really even know your stuff at all. Actually, you're just like, yo, I fuck with your stuff, yada yada, whatever. I want to join, and then we became friends. I was like, yo, I'm near where you're at for a little bit. Why don't we grab a lift or something? Just went from there. And that, I will say before you go, that's how I've made a ton of friends in the internet space, where I'll be on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. We're both posting content. We're just talking about, we're doing podcasts, stuff like this. And then it'd be like, yo, bro, you want to grab a lift or you want to go hoop or something like that?
We got dinner first.
We did get dinner first.
We sat across from each other too. It was nice.
This guy. All right. So what do you do? Why are you here? What's your day-to-day like as a person right now? Ecom brand owner, someone who just left their corporate role. I'm curious what that's like as well, like that switch, because that was recent for you, right? When I met you.
Yeah, 100%. So just to answer your question first, I left my job Thanksgiving, like right before Thanksgiving of 24. So it's only been like 4 months-ish. I think that the craziest thing was taking a side business and making it the real thing. It's just because you have to have a mental shift. This is my first go at this, right? This isn't like I'm not some experienced ecom person. Yeah, I worked in marketing and ads for the last decade on the tech side. That's where I came from, my background. So I understood KPIs. I understood how to traffic ads and all that stuff, yada, yada, sure. But it's a very different thing where now I spend 10 hours sitting in front of my computer, and most of it is just making new ads, making content, tweeting stuff, and keeping the admin stuff going. For those interested, right now I run my brand just myself and one VA to help with customer service. So I wear basically all the hats, and I don't really outsource much. That was a thing that happened, or a big shift I had to have though, by the way. So when I was in corporate, I outsourced a lot. I had an ad agency. I had an email guy. I was outsourcing.
What was your schedule like before you made the switch? That's what I'm really curious about.
Sure. So I was working. I had not a remote 9 to 5, but I was probably working at least an extra hour a day. So let's call it 45 hours a week. I was working 9 to 6. I have a toddler, so in the morning I would be with him. I would drop him off at daycare, come home, work my 9 to 5. Any blocks that I had, I would block off a fake meeting and then work on the business. Then I would spend 5, 6 to 8 as family time. And then 8, 8:30, I would go back upstairs, work till 11, 11:30, and they'd shut it down. The problem is, I don't know what time you guys go to bed or what time you go to bed. I know you go to bed pretty early.
It varies sometimes.
It varies.
Sometimes you just get caught in one of those 2 a.m. loops, and then before you know it, it's 2 a.m. for a week, and you got to reset. I try for 9. I try for 9 to 10. Yeah, of course.
The point I was just getting to is for me, because of the schedule that I had, I couldn't sleep in ever. I never slept past 6:30. My best hours were not given to the business. So then on the weekends, I would work where I could.
That's the struggle. When I was a car salesman, as you know, and I was trying to start not as serious a business that you have. I was trying to do dropshipping at the time, and then I did the pages. Bro, the before work, you're not really awake yet. You got 6 hours the night before because you were up late working, and then on top of that, you have a family. You got a wife and kids. I was 18.
Keep everything intact.
You want to keep everything.
Divorce to come out of this.
You don't want a big,
that hates me.
You don't want a big blow up to happen. Yes. So what you're doing 4 hours a day in the business, and they're not your best hours, but you still made it.
4 with an asterisk. But
okay. So, but you still made it, and you got out of that, and that's inspiring.
I appreciate it.
That's really cool. Not a lot of people.
One more thing we have to address. Because
Okay.
I don't let you know me. I don't like to lie, and I don't like to be disingenuous.
Yeah.
I did take on funding. So right before I quit, I had an individual, not an institution, so not a VC or anything. I had a wealthy individual that wanted to get into the e-commerce space buy in for a decent amount of cash, because that helped me.
Do you think you would have been able to quit without the funding?
In like 2 years, maybe.
Okay. And why is that? Was there like a number that you were trying to get to that you could pay yourself?
It's just e-commerce being a capital restraint. Like capital was my biggest restraint for the business, especially because like, dude, who's lying on the internet saying that their first time as an e-commerce founder, they're perfect at like capital allocation and not making mistakes and profit margins? Like, dude, I made $50,000-$60,000 of mistakes in my first year. You can't take that back. That's all profit I could have paid myself. And that was just gone to the wind because I paid this guy $5K for an ad.
That is something that nobody talks about. Where, dude, I probably made like 200 grand in mistakes last year. Were just things that I didn't need to purchase for business, not like personal stuff, business purchases that just weren't needed, or we were testing something and it's never gonna be right on that first try. And I think a lot of people don't take that into consideration, where it's like, oh shit, there's just gonna be wasted money when you're figuring it out. And people go, oh well, yeah, the brand made 100, so I'm able to quit, but not really.
No, when you look at your P&L in QuickBooks and there's a negative on the bottom after the first year, you're like, oh, I owe money.
Yeah.
It's just lessons learned. And again, you know me, I'm not the type to lie about this stuff, so it was definitely a huge learning curve.
What was the number though for you that made it comfortable, or if there was one, to jump from corporate to going all in on yourself? Because I know when I quit, I didn't really have that because I was young. I was a teenager still. I was at home with my parents. I was just starting to make the money online. I could see that it's good. I just said, you know what, I'm going to take all my time and jump on this opportunity while it's easy. And if it doesn't work, I can go be 24 and just go get a job.
Yeah. So
you couldn't do that.
I'm going to speak about this in a little bit of a roundabout way, but I'll give some details. So I had a good ass job. I was a sales engineer for a software company that was Series C backed and like in the Salesforce space and crushing it, right? So I made almost $250,000 at my job. And I say that like that's not a flex. It's a fucking hard thing to leave with a kid and a wife. Just be like, here's 20K.
Golden handcuffs.
Yeah, gone. Like just throw it to the window. So what I did was I just got my monthly nut, like what everything all in without changing lifestyle is per month. And then I made sure I had 6 months of cash at least before I quit, plus some profitability. So when I took on the funding, right, that funding, if the business even broke even, I had that cash that I could pay myself. I had in my personal bank accounts more than 6 months of liquid cash. Now I'm talking about investments or anything. I'm talking about like in a savings account, a high interest savings account, I have 6 months of cash sitting there. Then I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. Is that the best advice? No, I'm not saying that everyone should do this. I kind of burn the boats a little bit.
But that's cool.
Yeah. But
Something I talk about a lot, and we've talked about a little bit, is my vision personally is do cash flow business, stack up a lot of liquid, have the freedom, have the lifestyle, have whatever, things are good, be able to eat whatever food I want, do whatever travel on a reasonable basis. I'm not trying to ball out. I don't really care about, the image. But then decide what my, big thing is. What's my big play? What's my 9-figure play? What's my billion play? I genuinely and fundamentally believe that I can get there, and you're fundamentally doing that right now with this business. This business could grow and expand and be that 9-figure play for you.
I mean, brands are getting 5 to 7 times revenue if the numbers look right. Mm-hmm. Right now, I'm like an e-commerce brand. I'm not talking about someone who dropships something. I'm not talking about
a real brand.
I'm not talking about something that
a moat.
On Alibaba. Yeah, like with a moat and a unique product and quality and all that stuff. Like if you really build it, something that a PE would want to buy. Yeah. Like look at, was it Poppy or Olipop? I confused them in my head. That just got bought by Pepsi.
It was Poppy.
Dude, they lost money. They lost like $200 million last year. They got bought for $1.6 billion or whatever the hell it was.
There's another one, Evil
Foods.
Just bought for $750 million. Sour Strips, for example, they just sold. I think it came out that it was 75. I was like, there's no way it's not 100. A couple months ago, it came for 75. I'm pretty sure.
That kid's great grandkids are not working.
Yeah, he's winning.
Yeah.
There's so many routes we could go here. A point I want to finish.
Yeah, sorry.
I have the mindset of I'm going to stack this cash from my cash flow business and then go do the main thing. You just did it from your job, stacked up liquid, and maybe you win a little bit early, but you're all in, you got the funding, you're going to go for your big play now.
Yes.
And so fundamentally, at the end of the day, regardless, you can run the cash flow biz, you can do your job. It's all about getting some sort of funding for the play, funding for the big shot. If you want to go for the 9 figures or whatever, maybe people don't want to.
I've never monetized my personal brand, which is
You
why I got
you
to
should
in the first place.
he should be
Of course. But jokes aside, that's always a backup that's there too.
Of course. And what is your brand at? 10K followers now?
Like almost 14.
Yeah, and that's all you, bro. I didn't help with that. You came in, we haven't helped you do the product yet and all that. I mean, you've been crushing it on your own. Maybe talk a little bit about that. And before you do, and on the topic of monetizing, we talk about Max Tuning, for example.
Yes.
Sold that brand for 75 mil. He launched that from his personal brand, and the only money he put into it at the start was for the inventory, was for like the product setup in general. And to me, that's the power of having a brand, having some kind of attention, having a personal brand in general. It's why, like right now, why am I recording a podcast with, what do you want to go by on here?
TJ's fine.
TJ?
Yeah.
TJ's cool. Why am I recording a podcast with TJ? Because I need more content to clip this up, to put it everywhere, because I want to get to 50 million views a month, 100 million views a month, because then my brand grows. We grow our marketing company, but also I can then do the big play. I can throw the ecom brand in there.
I think that if you want to be a business owner in the next 5 years, like you're gonna have, can you imagine going to like any type of founder event, or not even an event, you're just at dinner with a couple other founders and like, I have no.
Where can I find you? What's your Instagram?
Yeah.
I don't have anything.
Are there older dudes that crush it, that are rich as fuck, that have none? Sure. And maybe, honestly,
They already made it.
they already made it. They made it already. If you're on the come up, if you're trying to grind, like, I don't see any world where you just have no presence at all. If you've made it already, sure. Like, what do I know? I can't speak from that because I'm not there yet. But,
Bro, even like 2,000 followers. If you have 2,000 followers on Twitter and you're tweeting about your ecom brand and you're just talking about what you're doing, you're documenting a little bit, whatever, and the brand blows up, one, you're going to look back on that, have notoriety. People can see that in the future. But two, you'll just get connections based on that because you're saying interesting shit and you interact with people. You're going to get deals from that. I'm curious because something that I've seen in you, I would even say, dude, I have a lot more followers than you, but I would say your network might be crazier than mine. I'm not super the networking type. It happens very naturally for me. But we talk about it like how you got funding, how you know some of these guys, some of the ecom brands that you know about. And you've told me about some of the conversations, and I'm like, dude, your network's crazy, and you only have 14K followers now, and you had those connections at 5, at 7.
Yeah.
So what was your strategy actually to do that, besides just posting content?
I hate the word networking. I understand
I know what you
the
mean.
network
Yeah.
effect, like,
I hate it too.
I'm not going to happy hour shaking hands, right?
Yeah.
To be honest, it all came about.
I'm going to the networking event. It's
LinkedIn
none of that.
speak, zero founder speak. Like if anyone watching this follows me, or you follow me after this, more than half the shit I post is a complete shit post. It's a complete shit.
But that's what makes people want to interact with you.
I'm a
'Cause you're a real
brand owner,
person.
and I'm taking a shit right now, and I thought of this funny thing, and I'm just ripping it out.
You're a
there.
real
But
person.
That's what connecting with people. I swear, because my investor is a very wealthy man. A lot of the people that I'm connected with are very wealthy, right? They're regular ass people. They laugh. They want to joke. They don't want you to come be like, "Hi, sir." Like, they want you to just be a person too. I talk about it all the time. Like, I think you can be a serious person and not take yourself too seriously.
The other thing on that note is people want to be around cool people. Because, I mean...
Call me cool.
Yeah, you're cool.
Oh,
You're a cool
that's
guy,
nice.
but you're doing cool shit. You're funny. You're not too stiff. You're about it. It's probably where you come from too. And these older guys, maybe that don't have the sauce anymore, that have the funding though. They want to be around cool young guys that are doing cool shit. At least in my experience.
I think everyone wants that.
Yeah, for sure.
And the problem that we face, especially the deeper you go on the internet, is a lot of young guys that it's not their fault. They didn't have guidance, whatever circumstances of life. They came here from another country, whatever. They learned or are learning how to be a man on the internet, and not punching your friend in the face.
Or going and shaking hands with
going
people.
and shaking hands with people, and also, as you know, a lot of internet money people have never worked a corporate job. I am not telling you to go do that route. I do think it's valuable though. Like if I was going to do it again, I would say maybe get like a marketing or sales job in a space that's similar to what you want to do for a year or two, just to learn how to send an email and use Zoom and all that stuff, and then just use that money and
Or be a professional.
Yeah.
You know, I am so glad. I hated selling cars. I'm so glad I did it.
Yeah.
Because I got to shake hands with grandparents that were buying a car for me at 18 years old. That experience is invaluable. You know, I learned how to be a professional. I learned how to show up on time. Not that I wasn't ever not going to show up on time, but, you know, I learned how, you know, to receive expectations from a boss, and maybe I can translate that to a client now, you know, and how to frame certain things.
Just taking feedback.
Taking feedback,
Because
yeah.
if you just are your own boss always, right? And you just learn or start being the type of person that tells everyone to fuck off. You have to learn how to tell someone how to fuck off directly. And
in a nice way.
And indirectly, right? You have to be able to do both. Like, yeah, someone's trying to scam you. You can email them, fuck off. But a customer, that absolutely sucks. But what if they have a huge social media following? They're going to screenshot that. You have to do it like...
Here's an very interesting correlation I just kind of like thought of. Sports. I played sports for every year of my life growing up. And there's some video games mixed in there, and we've talked about that before. But I think that now it feels like it's more video games than sports. And so instead of having this real life interaction as a kid, and then you go to the business world, even if it's online, you have this online interaction, and then you go to this real world of business, and people don't know how to talk. People don't know how to shake your hand. People don't know how to look you in your eye because of it.
I'm going to sound like red pill manly right now. But as much as it's funny, like, the threat of being punched in the face is completely removed from life for the most part. Yeah, you're in high school. You can get into a fight, or like in a bar, you can get into a fight. But outside of like those two circumstances, it's almost completely removed. And even if you, like, we both make our money online. So for us, it's removed too. But we grew up the majority of our life with having to interact with other people and keep it kosher with that.
Also in a culture that was like, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We both grew up in New York.
I mean,
I grew up face a lot.
I grew up in a much different part of New York than you, way more chill. But yeah, I mean, even the Northeast culture in general is just like, are you about it? Because I'm about it. Like, let's go here.
Dude, the dads fought at my sports games.
That's nuts.
Yeah, but it was just one. It was like a thing. Like, the cops didn't even get called. It was just like, as long as you didn't stomp him after he was knocked out, like, it was good. Just hands only, no weapons.
But the to your point, you know, the threat of violence, the threat of this person could kill me, I better watch myself right now, is completely removed.
Yeah, because, like, I don't know about you. Like, I've had 19, 20, 21-year-olds say crazy shit to me.
On the internet.
Yeah, on the internet. Like,
ridiculous stuff.
And you know what makes you look even more ridiculous? If I were to reply like, yo, I'll fuck you up.
Yeah.
I look like an idiot.
Yeah. And, you know, at least for the guys watching that might be saying shit like that, it is so easy to find people. Like, you can't... If you wouldn't say it in real life, you shouldn't be saying it online. It is so easy to know who you are, where you are. If you do it to the wrong... I'm not saying it's me. I'm not threatening violence right now. But I'm saying if you do it to the wrong person, it's very, very high chance that they know exactly where you are, can find you, and can hurt you. And so you better watch yourself.
They know someone who can.
That's right.
Yeah. It's wild, but it's true. It's really true. But I do think there is a little bit of a bounce back coming. At least that's what I see. Like, I do. I feel like we're kind of healing a little bit.
Describe that.
It's tough, but even just like the way that gym culture started to come back. Yeah, there's SARM goblins and like young kids with the broccoli tops, but at least they're lifting.
Yeah.
And like, yes, they're not drinking as much, and they're not.
That's an interesting trend, by the way.
It's almost like someone should start a company with an alcohol alternative.
This guy right here. No, but people aren't drinking as much. At least
the data is like very clear.
So what is it? Because you probably are way.
I think
in that.
To be honest, like, I could try and recite data, but
sure.
Like, I think we've always known that alcohol sucks.
Yep.
Right? Like, don't get me wrong. For let me make sure I preface this. I drank my first beer with my friends at 15.
Yep.
By the end of high school, I was drinking 10 beers in a night with my friends, and I went to college like already an experienced drinker, and then college into my early mid-20s. Like in college, I drank 5-6 nights a week. After college, I continued to drink 2 to 3 times a week. Like,
5-6 a week is crazy.
That's everyone. I was in a frat. Everyone I was around did that. It wasn't
Yeah.
like I was because to be honest, I had never once had a compulsion to drink. I know that sounds crazy that I was drinking that often, but it was never like I was sitting on my
Just
couch.
a behavioral pattern.
It was just in
This is
order
what's going
to chase
on.
girls, I needed to be drunk because that's where they were. So it was just like my friends are doing this, the girls are there, let's go do it. And then that just continued. And then at like 25, 26, I'm 33, turning 34 this month actually, in case anyone was curious.
Happy birthday.
Almost 420.
Okay.
420. I just was like, all right, enough. And then I slowly stopped. And then February of 23, my wife got pregnant. And I stopped drinking almost completely in solidarity with her. Will I have a cocktail if we go to a nice restaurant? Yes. Do I love a glass of Italian red wine? Yes. But never more than 2 drinks and once a month.
Yeah. When I moved to Miami, I kind of ripped it a little bit.
As you should. As you should.
And definitely was distracting. Definitely, I still lifted. I was healthy and all that, but I'm sure it probably impacted me a little bit.
Yeah.
I haven't had a drink in probably two years almost.
I mean,
And I'm not just.
when we first grabbed dinner, you didn't. I remember, like I was like, "You want to drink?" You were like, "Absolutely not."
And it wasn't even absolutely not. I'm just like, I don't have a problem. I'm just not interested.
Yeah,
you know.
I agree.
I'm like, what does that do for me? I don't know. I don't really feel anything from it. I got more exciting things going on in my head anyway because I'm trying to build this business and like that's way more exciting to me. I also think it's part of it's like boredom. Like, why do people do drugs and drink alcohol? Well, they're bored.
What else do I do? I was going to add in an anecdote here, one last point to what I was saying.
Yeah.
The number one thing that I noticed that like really pushed me to quit, and this is typical like chip on the shoulder business owner, right? Like I was only drinking because other people wanted me to in the moment. So the rule that I have for myself is I only drink alcohol when I decide I'm going.
When you want to.
So if anyone is ever like, "Come on, have one," it's like a trigger in my head, and I'm like, "Fuck you." No.
You know, maybe you sell the company, you rip it. You know, that'll be fun. Going a little bender.
I'm not against like something here and there. And
Yeah.
That's like you should. Every single story I have that if we were hanging out and I'm telling is me and my friends drunk having fun. Like some of the best stories, right? So I shouldn't say every single, but most of the best stories that I have were that. So I can't deny that existed, but it doesn't serve me anymore. I'm a father. Okay, dude, can you imagine waking up on a Saturday, my toddler son smacking my face, dad, and I'm hungover? I would rather die.
I mean, tell the large part of America that does that every day, and like I can't imagine it personally.
Couldn't do it. No way.
On that point, one more point on drinking.
Yeah, please.
You know when you tell people you don't drink,
Yeah.
it's like, well, what happened? Like, are you okay? Like, what? Dude, I just don't want. Like, I'm not interested. What do you mean? Like, are you sober? How long have you been sober? Like, were you like an alcoholic? And I'm like, no. Like, I don't know. There's something with the culture where it's like you're supposed to be doing
making
this
them feel bad about themselves too.
because they can't stop.
Not that they can't. Whatever. I don't want to label it that hard. It's but like the underlying
We'll label
is
it.
they feel like now they're doing something wrong because you're like that's bad.
Yeah.
I don't want it. My wife is a very very perceptive person. She's just great socially, and one of the criticisms she had of me, she was like, "TJ, stop telling people." She's like, "Just say I'm good for now."
Oh, you were explaining.
Every time I would, because I would try to caveat, and I would be like, "Yeah, I don't really drink anymore. Just like leave me alone," kind of thing. Like trying because my friends, right? Like, she's like, "Stop, just be like, yeah, I'll get one, in a little bit, maybe not right now," and it's way better. You don't get that. Whoa, ooh, so on occasion, yes, I'll explain it.
The conversation doesn't even come up.
Yeah, it just
You brush over. It's smooth.
Well, it's like when there's a topic that you don't want to talk about, and you just kind of like, I'm good. Like you just like kind of like you just like shove it to the side, and unless someone's really annoying, they're gonna, for the most part, just let it die.
Yeah. So, where do you think? What are you betting on right now? I'm curious. Like we've talked about personal brand, we've talked about ecom, we've got a lot of AI stuff going on. You said you're running the business lean. I'm curious. What are your big bets?
My big bets are that people are going to continue to look for ways to optimize their lives, and the best businesses will be alongside those. I think peptides and hormones and nicotine,
huge. We can talk about that.
and GLP-1s and all that stuff, everyone's going to be, to quote Rob the Bank, who talks about this all the time, looks maxing. He talks about that being a thing that everyone's doing. The younger generation's doing it. Millennials are doing it. Everyone's like trying to like.
Everyone cares about how they look now.
So I think the businesses that are going to be the sexiest are going to be alongside that. Now, obviously AI as well. But we're not talking about tech. We're talking. I'm an e-commerce person. I used to work in tech, yes, but we can table that. This is from an e-commerce point of view. I think it's adjacent to that.
I'll give you my end of the spectrum, which is on that same note. Looks maxing on the internet, personal brand. It's a massive trend. It's why I build mine. It's why I help build other people's. It's a big opportunity. People not only want to look good, they want to be perceived as good. It's a status thing overall. And to tie in on all of it to the point of status, why does anybody purchase anything? Status. I want to purchase the Ramp Health drink because I want to be socially dialed in.
Or holier than thou. I don't drink, but I'm still here.
Status. Either way, it's status.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Or I'm going to take the GLP-1 to just drop fat as fast as possible for summer. Status. Because I want to look good at the beach. And then I want to take a pic for Instagram and then get all the chicks.
You can't blame them.
That's how it goes. Yeah. That's how it goes.
That's how it goes.
You know, so anytime anybody does anything, to me, why does that dude post that picture in that way? Status.
100%.
So, okay, let's talk about the peptide stuff.
Sure.
How open are you about peptide usage in general?
So peptide specifically, or everything related to that?
Everything related. Yeah.
So I've been on TRT for 5 years as of this month. I told you I'm 33, turning 34 this month. When I was 29, I had 200 total T, which was very strange to me because like at the time I could deadlift 500 pounds. I was lifting weights 5 days a week. I still played soccer up until I tore my ACL in 2023. I played soccer men's league till I was 32. So like I was not living like a soy boy lifestyle. I lived with my fiance at the time, was now my wife. Like I wasn't, but I guess like all the blue light, all the toxicity. I was living in Hoboken, so I was in the city. So maybe some of the toxicity from that and just working whatever it was, those factors came to be. So that's the main thing is like I'm the biggest advocate for fixing your hormones ever because it changed my life.
So I have questions about this.
Please.
and just open discussion as well. You know, the previous podcast I did with Paul, medical researcher, we talk about how the tri-state area is just fucked, like with chemicals, toxins, all of that. And then we also talked about blue light too. And our business, bro, sometimes the laptop is open for 16 hours in a day.
100%.
Just that's reality. You know,
I'm
dudes.
red lighted. I'm Flux app. I'm all that stuff too.
I know dudes that are like taking their laptop to the gym because they're media buying so hard and they got to make sure campaigns are on. Like, that's what this space is. So I totally get that. My thought process goes to, and I'm curious if you did this. Did you ever look at potentially what those toxins are inside of you and a natural way to remove this stuff before you went to the TRT route? You know, I personally, I'm open to doing steroids and whatnot. I want to have some kids first. My T is pretty good, and I'm getting blood work soon, so
Nick
we'll
is
know.
actually really, really strong. I would like everyone to know that, and I'm going to confirm that for the internet. We live together. He's very strong.
Thank you. I mean, all right. Thanks, bro.
Don't worry.
But I don't know. Like I've been around it for a while because when I started lifting at 18, everyone in the gym was on. They're on Anavar. We're talking about trend, talking about
100%.
all this stuff.
So Nick was making fun or hinting at where I grew up. So I grew up in Staten Island, New York. My brother and I always joke we didn't know that like other people's dads weren't jacked when we like left the nest and went to like college and shit. Because like everyone we knew, their dads lifted weights and stuff, and like had red ass faces because they were on 500 milligrams a test. So you're laughing, but like
I didn't know that was like that in Staten Island.
Listen, I'm making generalizations,
Okay.
obviously, right? But Italian Americans want driving nice cars and they want it to be jacked
They were
and tan and all
the
that.
original looks max.
The original GTL. and looks maxing, like it kind of comes from that. If I had to pinpoint it, we grew up in that, so like it was like kind of like already there for us. Also, what you have to understand is 2019 into 2020, I wasn't on X really or Twitter. Like I kind of was into this stuff. I was always like someone who lifted and was into health, but like nowhere near as deep as we are now.
Okay.
So I didn't have the information. Like Jay Campbell's book, The Testosterone Optimization Bible, was like the only thing that guided me through trying to understand it. I tried to do Clomid. I tried to do some other stuff because I was scared of injecting myself. And then eventually I just got convinced enough to be like, stop being a pussy. And then once I fixed it, everything else went through the roof. The last thing I'll say, I found an actual good doctor. I found a functional medicine doctor. I had every single time I go see them an hour consultation, sitting across, going over my blood work, looking at everything. It's not like a 5-minute see you never.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and I had to pay out of pocket for it.
I think that's so smart too, because, dude, a lot of the people I know that have done steroids or are on or cruising or whatever. Okay, I know all the terms, guys. If you're doing all that stuff. I'm not on though. I'm not on, but I know the terms. A lot of the guys dude, barely any blood work or like once a year. And I'm like, bro, if you're injecting these compounds that you don't even know if they're coming from a pharma or someone's making it in their bathtub or whatever, bro, you better be checking this out if you're going to be taking
100%.
and blasting at that level.
100%. And also, like, just taking, like, internet forum advice and just blasting is crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I use Function Health, by the way. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I don't have a link or anything, but I use Function Health. You can just order your blood work and urine analysis, and they send you to a Quest lab. It's like $500.
Free promotion right now.
Function Health, good for you. But yeah, it's just really easy. You get like 120 markers.
Let's talk about gym culture. You mentioned it before. We're talking about all this, how people are just kind of like blasting themselves. There's more people on steroids than you realize, or we realize.
By far.
By like a lot.
And they look like shit, a lot of them.
Yeah. Because they don't eat right, they don't lift right, all that. Now, they're not the gym, the position on the gym is always like, yeah, I'm doing it for my health. I'm doing it, this is about being.
The health is nice, but I want to look good.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm honest. Like,
I think
number one priority.
I think that's. I would say that ties into health, though. What does looking good do for your mental health and how you think about yourself?
Fair, well said. Good reframe.
So like, at the end of the day, it's all about the status, looking good, mental health. Yeah. Maybe the internal health, all of that. But how many people that are in the bro gym culture are actually healthy? And I can speak from experience. When I got into it, I just get on the creatine, the this, the that. Not that creatine's bad, but just lots of that, lots of pre-workouts, lots of amino powders, lots of protein powders. And then you could actually grow up a little bit, become a little bit more tapped into like the holistic side.
Yeah.
And you look into what's in these products and how they're processed and what the reality of it is, and it goes, oh, that's why my gut was fucked up. That's why my forehead was covered with acne. And as soon as I stop a lot of that shit, it goes away because it's a chemical. My body's trying to excrete it through the acne, and I'm just ingesting chemicals to try to look good.
We should tell anyone listening to this, Nick is way more like honed in and locked in than I am. But I'm not off the wagon. I live a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, you do.
But you are way more locked in than I am.
In what way?
Like, I think you're more strict than I am.
That's fair.
Like, if I'm 75 to 80% healthy, you're like 95 to 98% healthy.
There's stuff I could do better still.
Everyone can do better, but you're still in the upper echelons of people caring about their health and actually taking.
I'll tell you where it comes from.
Yeah.
So when I was, when was this? 2020?
Yeah.
It was about 2020 it started. I went to New York City. This is before the lockdowns, like a month before, funny enough. And I started to have pimples that pop up. I just remembered New York City because I had like pictures taken or whatever. And I had a couple here. Never really had acne before. That summer, I didn't really see the sun that much. Bro, I was locked in the basement printing cash. Like, I learned how to make money that summer.
He monk moded.
I really learned how to make money that summer. 2019, I was already, doing good. 2020, I learned how to make money that summer, and I just locked myself in the office that I built in my parents' basement and was just printing cash. I would barely come out. I had a gym built there. Like, bro, I was just there, that's what it was.
But that's why you're sitting here right now.
That's right. And So I wasn't seeing the sun. I was eating cheap food. I didn't think of, the eggs being pasture raised, organic, yada, yada, whatever. I was like, just get me the biggest, box of eggs that I can find. That's what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
And it was lower quality, and just lower quality food in general. Some of the grains, highly processed, stuff like that. And the lack of sun, maybe the lack of a lot of movement and walking and stuff with the bad food or the food that was like lower quality started to build up. And the acne exploded late in 2020 and then into 2021. And that's where it started for me. My sister had some autoimmune stuff before that, so I was well aware of, some of the stuff going on. She was still dealing with it. And I healed it through fasting, through eliminating a lot of that shit, and just cleaning up the diet in general. I then moved to Miami. Everything's good. But then I start to get these sinus infections. And the second, third week I moved to my apartment in Miami, there was a flood in the bathroom. The toilet flooded. And so I start to get these sinus infections right after that. One after another, 3-4 rounds of antibiotics, not killing it, keeps coming back. I used a holistic treatment. It was colloidal silver, a special mix from this holistic practitioner that I don't know what it was.
A shaman.
Black seed oil, it wasn't a shaman. Black seed oil, and elderberry, and it knocked it out. And I now take black seed oil every single day since then.
Shout out Grim Hood.
Dude, I feel so good. I feel so good from taking it. When I don't notice a difference. I just know that I feel good and I don't get sick when I take that. When I get sick, I add the colloidal silver in. Regardless, anyway, that happened. So that messed me up a little bit. There may or may not have been mold from that, but there was a flood, right? There's moisture.
You didn't get down to the cause, but whatever.
Right. I then moved to a different place in Florida.
Okay.
And at this place in Florida, like the way I would wake up was I felt like I was dehydrated, like dead, like the
like SpongeBob.
yeah, like I was the life was sucked out of me, and it was like the air conditioner was like pulling the nutrients just out of me every single night, and it sucked. I then moved to a different place where there was a leak.
Guy has the worst luck with
and there was like we ran a mold test, whatever. And that was going on. It was brand new build. Maybe there was some off gassing of chemicals or something.
Yeah.
Just felt awful. And so,
but hold on, can I interject 1 second, real quick? I just want to say that I think a lot of people don't even think about the things that you're.
That's
thinking
right.
about and what the real value and what he's saying is like. It may not just be like, oh, I have allergies today. Like, why?
Yeah, why do you have allergies? What's in your environment?
I'm sorry to cut you off. Keep going.
Yeah.
But that's
Like,
a really
what did you
important
consume?
point. Yeah.
What did you consume? Why is your histamine response so high that you have allergies and hives coming up from the pollen outside? Maybe it's because you have mold in your environment. Or maybe the food you're eating has a bunch of trash in it and your body has a bunch of chemicals and you're starting to spill over. You can't handle it.
Supposed to get stuffed after we eat a slice of pizza.
That's right. Well, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But it would happen to me sometimes, and I like found ways to get away
Yeah.
with it, whatever. But like shit like that, like you have to make the connection in your head.
So I just became conscious of this stuff.
But keep going. You were
Yeah.
saying like
No,
the apartment stuff.
Yeah, basically, I just became conscious of this stuff because of where I, lived and just things going on and what my environment was like and all this stuff. And when I became conscious of it, I started to say, what's in my food? What is in my environment? What is in the air outside my environment? Something that I want you guys to do right now is go look up Superfund sites in America. Where we're sitting right now is the highest concentrated place in America of Superfund sites. We talk about toxins, New York City, the whole tri-state area. Why is it? Because all the industrial sites that
Staten Island's a dump, literally.
They're all the industrial, yeah, all the industrial sites, the chemical sites, all of it. Those things are in the atmosphere somewhere, and I did a whole podcast about this previously, so I'm not going to get super into it.
Yeah.
But
watch the other episode.
But look at what's in your atmosphere, look at what's in your environment, and you look around and you go, well, maybe my allergies aren't just because I have allergies from pollen or whatever. Maybe it's because there's a crazy toxin in the water system. You can also look up your water system and you can see.
I have terrible water in my town. I paid $5,000 to have my whole house is softened. It's UV treated and it's filtered to the main line.
One thing that's holding me back from buying a house, I want to wait until I have the money to build a massive house that is completely toxin free. It's built with
and
brick.
spec to how you want it. For
Exactly.
everything. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
The building materials now are just. You look around. I don't know.
You're better off buying, honestly, like a 100-year-old house right now, and then
That's right.
If you wanted to buy one in between, like you're probably better off. I mean, we got to check for asbestos. But
Regardless, that's where I get a little bit just conscious of this stuff. I'm not neurotic. You know, it's about being resilient. It's about being able to handle a toxin when you go into the environment and not feel anything because
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
you do care about your health. I'm not trying to be neurotic and this and that.
I'm not trying to say no to my friends going to a nice steakhouse because I'm worried about what
cool.
they cook the steak in.
And dude, honestly, just ask them, bro. Just cook it in butter because it tastes better. Just say it tastes better. You don't have to be weird about the seed oils and whatnot.
Allergy or some shit. Yeah.
You can make the choice of like, yo, I don't want that because I notice a difference. It does actually. I feel a little bit like sluggish the next day. I'm all about high performance. I got a business to run. I got 10 employees.
You don't even have to tell anyone. Like almost any restaurant you go to, you can get like a protein and vegetables.
Yeah.
No one has to even know.
And they probably don't cook the steak in canola or whatever.
No, especially if you go somewhere nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. Like I said, I'm just a little bit less strict. I'm starting to get more strict as I get older now. One of the things that's plagued me since I started test, the only side effect I would say I have is my sleep apnea got way worse. Like I didn't really, like I had it, I kind of snored, but since I've been on test, it got way worse. And it's because my neck is now like 18 and a half inches. You see that shit? Jokes aside though, like it's just pure mass.
Yeah.
Right? So I've been like trying to shred down some pounds, just because over the last couple of years I gained 20 pounds of muscle just going from 200 to 1,000 total test. I didn't change much.
Have your lifts gone up or down or stayed the same? Or like, what does that look like?
Well, I changed the way I lifted. Like, I used to be at superpower into powerlifting and like not like trying to compete, but like I got my deadlift up to 550. I got my squat over 4 plates and my bench over 3 plates. And then, like I said, 2 years ago in April, I tore my ACL. And since then, I've been like, nope, I'm good. You know, we live together. We're doing mostly like bodybuilding type stuff now.
Yeah.
That's what I focus on. I don't have a problem with it. I think everyone should do what works for them. And the most important thing, I bet you agree with this, we haven't discussed this, but you have to enjoy going to the gym. If you hate squats, don't fucking squat. Yeah, they're healthy for you. Yeah, they're probably the best exercise for legs, whatever. But if you hate them, just don't do them. Do something else.
I think the bigger thing, look, from a longevity perspective, I guess it kind of depends on what you're optimizing for and what your goal is. I think that muscle is huge. And I want to look good and I want to look shredded.
Yes.
And that's amazing.
Yes.
But the second thing is longevity. Mm-hmm. You know, what do my internal organs look like? How is my movement? Am I going to have to get a hip replacement or can I fix my movement now so that I don't need a hip replacement? Regardless, I've done the bodybuilding stuff as like the number one.
Yeah.
For a while because I cared about the looks like you said before. It's all about
I mean, getting back to the point you made at the beginning, status, like, no matter what, humans respect muscle and size. It's why height gets brought up all the time, too, right? Like, yeah, I think the more someone brings up height and hair and things, it's the more, like, deep internet pickup artist shit you read.
Let's talk about height for a second, because you and I are both not the tallest, you know?
It's true.
And I'm curious what your outlook on that is. You know, to me, it bothered me when I was a kid. Because I get picked on a little bit.
Of course.
People still say shit now.
100%. They're going to, right now, the comments are going to be, you guys are coping as we talk about. 100%.
Probably.
But we're M&M. I'm getting ahead of it. So
maybe we have to cope.
Yeah, maybe
like the reality is I'm not getting taller.
If I put Nick on my shoulders, we'll fuck you up. We're like a Megazord.
No, the reality is I'm not getting taller.
Yes. Yeah,
but I also think there's a bit of a, not a superpower in being short, but it incentivizes us to be good in all other areas. We don't have
I would say that if you have a huge advantage, like being really good looking or really tall, it's why people make fun of people always make fun of like the cool kid in high school, like they didn't have to develop a personality. Like, if you have things that draw people to you automatically, you don't have to compensate. But at the same time, like, good on you if you're tall. Good on you if you're really good looking.
Yeah,
good
cool.
on you if you're really athletic. Like, talent is a thing. But,
100%.
I will say that it definitely is a factor in forcing you to develop in other places.
I think that at least where I stand now, as a man, 26 years old, it doesn't really affect me today. You know, I think that
I'm married. I got a kid.
Yeah,
too.
I got a great
call me short
girlfriend.
I gotta call me short. It doesn't matter.
I got a great girlfriend.
I'm done.
I got a good business.
Yeah.
You know, I'm healthy. I'll be able to reproduce, no problem. And so, the point is though, to me it gets ingrained as a kid. You know, oh, you're short, this and that. So you try to become the fastest. You try to become the best at the sport. You try to get, you know,
That
big.
will
You
carry
lift.
you, though. If you're
Right.
not tall, like as a guy, let's talk about this is for being a guy. If you're mad good at sports, even if you're short, that's a status thing. That
Yeah.
When you're younger, it doesn't serve you when you're 30.
Well, then you start playing the game of business.
Of course, but just to my point, like you were a baseball player, correct? That was your sport.
Yeah.
Your main sport. I was a soccer player. Like being good at that, and I was a wrestler too. Like that helped.
100%.
I wasn't, getting picked on.
100%.
Maybe a little head rub here and there from a tall guy on the team, but like, not like it wasn't like abuse.
Yeah.
It also doesn't bother me to the point you made before. It doesn't bother me.
Why do you think it does bother some people? Yeah, it doesn't bother me at all. It's just whatever.
Completely out of your control.
Well, why do you think it bothers some people?
Well, because
Maybe because they don't do shit about it?
if you want to get what I really think it is,
Okay.
I think it's all sexual frustration. If you are a guy that does not get
That's real.
as much girls as you want, and you think that the limiting factor, the number one limiting factor, is your height, and someone presses that button, it's like they shocked you. It's
There's
like they
probably a lot more that goes into it, such as you're a bitch, and and maybe you don't take care of yourself, and maybe you don't have any confidence, and you don't
put
have any
those heels
status.
in their shoes to make them taller.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but seriously, like, I'm pretty sure Jeff Bezos is like 5'7". I'm pretty sure he's like my height. He's not worried. He's jacked with like a hot ass second wife.
Super Billy.
Richest man.
Is she hot?
All right, just that's a different deal.
She's 50-year-old and wrinkled up.
Relatively.
Why didn't he go for like the 20-year-old?
We're gonna have to ask.
28-year-old. It's good,
Jeff,
you know?
can we get you on? We're both interviewed.
Jeff, I'm sorry that I said the truth about your woman, and I don't rebuke it, and that would be great if you came on. Oh, man.
You should buy TikTok.
That would be interesting.
I'm pretty sure they're one of the main contenders.
Does that do anything for you? Is your stuff selling on Amazon?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that, who knows, I'm not going to pretend to be a mergers and acquisitions expert or
Yeah.
whatever. The best thing would be if it had a seamless integration with Amazon from TikTok Shop, right? Or it all
Pretty sauce.
came together. So instead of Amazon having to build their own TikTok, they get the TikTok content creation with the Amazon buying platform and combine them.
When you say Amazon building their own TikTok, do you think that's something that they're considering, thinking about doing?
Why would they consider buying it if they weren't consider building it?
Feels like a big project to build it.
Which is why buying it's better. Like,
Well, yeah.
I'm not even.
I'm
not being snarky with you. Like I came from the tech world, right?
Yeah.
The startup world. That's the only reason why companies get acquired. It's like it's a smarter financial decision for us to buy this and their customers.
But couldn't this just be like, oh, TikTok's for sale? We have to, like, somebody's got to buy it. Why not us?
It could. Yeah. It could also be they don't want their competitors to get
That's
it.
fair.
They don't want Walmart to buy it.
Temu or whatever it is.
They don't want any of them to buy it.
Yeah.
So it's competitive. Either way, whatever the value that they were going to have to pay for TikTok, it's all just an assessment of is it worth it for us in the long run.
That makes sense. So you think TikTok, right now, I mean, TikTok is dominating in terms of ecom.
Yeah.
Is TikTok and that stuff the future? Do we move away from that? We got the UGC, like AI stuff. I'm really, really curious where that space goes because I'm super deep in AI. I'm building a lot of stuff with AI. I see these UGC AI stuff. I don't know how legal it is. I mean, I'm not touching it. I
You're
don't
supposed
do
to
UGC.
disclose that it's an AI video.
Okay.
People don't. They try and trick it.
Well, people also are just using UGC people now, right? And then it's like they're kind of just
Superimposing
making
a different product. They're like half altering with AI, so like it's all fuzzy. It's all fuzzy. To your question, I am not going to pretend to predict the future.
Okay.
One thing I don't like that I see is that TikTok is a race to the bottom, and what I mean by that is everyone on TikTok is just so conditioned to look for the lowest price and the cheapest thing.
Because they gave away a bunch of money, right?
They launched the entire platform with them funding sales and co-funded no free shipping and all kinds of stuff. So now if your item costs more than like $20, people are like, it's so expensive. And you're laughing, but like it's true.
It's also a lot of kids on there.
Yeah, it's a lot of kids on there and a lot of broke people because the majority of people are broke.
I mean, well, think about who's the person scrolling all day. The person scrolling all day probably doesn't have much money because they're scrolling, they're not working, and they don't really take themselves too seriously. And
I don't want to shit on anyone who
Okay.
uses TikTok as a whole. But
Fair enough.
I agree with what you're saying. I just don't want to get too negative about it.
Yeah.
Because it is, if there are many companies making millions a month on TikTok.
Fair enough.
Shout out Knobs. There, look at them. Biome, the toothpaste. They crush it on TikTok.
There is a formula for it, and it can work, even if the people there are looking for the cheapest, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It's just what I personally don't like. The future of what I'm doing and where I'm taking my company and the next thing that I'm launching and whatever else. Wink.
Does the tariff stuff affect you?
It affected me directly.
Okay, so
I used to manufacture overseas. Now I'm U.S. made.
Was that
I got ahead of it.
was that a choice? I thought we talked about it.
I in September or October, I made the decision. I thought Trump was going to win, and I said I'm going to get out of this. This is a smart thing to do. So like, I think my cost went up 10% manufacturing in the U.S. But if you factor in freight plus tariff, I'm saving money.
Nice.
And I get to say it's U.S. made, which I loved, and I wanted to do anyway.
Super sick.
You know, you were talking about the Max Chewing.
Tuning,
He,
yeah.
he put in not a lot of money.
Yeah, like 50 probably.
My company cost 40 to start.
There you go.
So like at that time, that was all I had of cash available to do anything. So
Yep.
like I had to do the best thing possible to launch a company.
Will the quality get better because it's in the U.S.?
My control over it will get better.
Like you go to the
B4 is
manufacturer.
a very, very high quality product. I third party test it. Like everything is like really, really good. But in the U.S., I'll just have more control before it gets to me. So I can fly to my new manufacturer. I can go into the lab and taste things over and over and make sure the taste is perfect. The labels are good. It's just more control. Like when you get stuff manufactured overseas, think about it, dude. You send $200,000 into the abyss, and all of a sudden it just shows up one day on a boat at your 3PL, and you just gotta hope that they didn't fuck you.
China's a little squirrely like that.
Yeah, China, Mexico,
Alibaba.
Where you can get something like Europe. Some people get stuff manufactured. The point is just like, what do? You're gonna go to the Chinese government?
There's nowhere to go.
If you keep everything on Alibaba, you're protected.
Yes, I know that. Yeah.
You know that. But if you start doing a deal outside, like you just have a piece of paper. It's a PDF. That's it.
I really am curious. This is something that I'm really curious about. Making the product.
Yes.
Like making the formula. I know you probably don't want to get into too much of the science behind it.
We can.
But I'm really curious about how you formulated it and put it together. Because really a key point that, I say sometimes, and it's like kind of become like an internet meme in general from people, is you can just do things. And the reality is you're just like, yo, this formula, there's a good idea. I'm gonna come up with something. I'm gonna go to a manufacturer. I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna put the branding together, and it's just 40 G's to start. Cool. Plus this idea, done. A lot of people don't really realize you can do that because they see companies out there, and they're like, "Well, how do you make that? And how do you do that?"
A lot of formulas are shit. Like I don't want to talk smack, but like if you go look, I have more of one ingredient than some people have in their entire formula, and I have 6 ingredients in before, right? Just like a little flex, but seriously, like, no, but we have
There's a lot of fillers,
we
right?
have a really strong product.
Not in your stuff. There's a lot of fillers and a lot of products out there from other people.
Even in mine, there's some fillers, dude. You can't make something taste like pineapple out in thin air.
Yep, for sure.
And if you eat the raws or consume the raws, it tastes like asshole.
I more so meant like a lot of percentage of people's product is filler.
Or they have a good formula, but the dosages are so ineffective, they're so low because of margins. Like, dude, another nootropic in mine can both say L-theanine, but I have 600 milligrams of L-theanine in one dose of before, and they have 25, right? Like,
I just had a sick idea. A high-end luxury supplement brand where there's just crazy high dosages, but people will pay for it because they're rich.
Well, if only someone was doing that.
Okay, all right.
Wink, wink, talk. But anyway, to get back to your point, you asked about the formula. I think one of the things I pride myself on is not being delusional. I know exactly where I stand on things. And I knew I wasn't smart enough to be a chemist to formulate something. But I've been taking supplements since I was 14. and I'm in the space, right?
Yep.
I understand the basics of
You're a consumer of the space.
I'm a consumer
which
of
I
the
think is
space.
really important.
Big
You
consumer.
know, people try to go into things that they don't do, and I'm like, dude, it's so much easier if you're already a customer and you know what you want. Then probably there's other people that do want it too.
There's no way I've spent less than 20 grand in my life on supplements. So I was trying to self-treat ADHD. That's what really happened. I was experimenting with nootropics, and the combination that I found that worked best for me was a combination of L-theanine and Suboxone. So if I was taking 400 milligrams of L-theanine and 500 milligrams of Suboxone, the active ingredient in Suboxone is Aroxylin A. There's a reason I'm saying that.
Okay.
And it had a very Adderall-esque effect on me without the next day depression type stuff, because I had tried Adderall before on a script and it really fucked me up like in the next day. So I'm like, oh my God, this works. And then my immediate thought, going back to my degenerate days, was holy shit, this would be good before a wedding, or like before a bar or some shit, right? Like, well, because
Just
like,
get zapped.
think about what bothers you at a wedding is like your brain is starting to go monkey mind crazy, and you're like, I don't care about this fucking financial analyst telling me about what his firm is investing in. I don't care about your shore house, like yap, and it bothers you.
Small talk.
So, or whatever it is the thing that bothers you, worried about what other people are thinking, do you look fat, yada, yada. So I was like, okay, part of like using nootropics is to calm that monkey mind. This could work in that scenario. How can I combine the nootropic effect with an anti-anxiety effect and also not making people tired? Put it all together before it comes in. You take it before you go anywhere. I did pay a very, very well-followed and well-known like biohacker type to help me with this. That's probably the person I trust the most of the stuff in the world. I literally I inject things, peptides and stuff, just because they tell me. I don't even like question because how smart this individual is. And the effect that we came down with, you've taken it before. It's basically like a pre-workout, but for life instead of going to the gym. And that's what it's all come to be. It's come to a head. That's what the product is. The product is, I don't feel like going. I have to go to this wedding. I don't want to go. You pop a dose or two of B4 before you go, and it will calm your brain, give you a little bit of energy and focus so you can get through it in a better way instead of having to drink 10 drinks.
So sick. So sick. And so when you took that formula, you got it together.
Yes.
What did you do with it? How did you take it from formula to I'm gonna put this in a product? Like what are the steps there for you?
I shopped it to like 30 U.S. manufacturers.
Okay.
I was very, very black-pilled.
Okay. For the people that aren't in the space, how did you get in touch with those manufacturers?
Cold, hard calling, baby. I was on Google, and I just started hitting everyone up. Like,
Let's go.
I just straight hustled. Like,
Yeah.
I just went on the internet, called people blind, Googled, like asked around for who other people were using, and I was like getting my wheels spun. And they would take a week to get back to me. Like the U.S. salespeople were terrible. Whatever.
Why do you think that is? They just got so much business. They're cool.
All right, let me ask you something. Do you know anyone that works at a supplement manufacturer in real life? Do you know a single person?
No, of course not.
It's not a job that I think that people who are super ambitious in the States would go after. Creating one, making one, sure, but a salesperson there to close a $10,000 deal from some kid on Twitter that wants to do his first run of protein powder, like I don't think it pays that well. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. I think it's just not the cream of the crop salespeople.
That makes sense.
So they were not following up. It would take 2 to 3 days for them to respond to my, like, I give you a hot lead. I went on your website. I filled out your form. I said, I want to call today or tomorrow, and no one responds to me.
A lot of businesses like that, dude.
Yeah, dude, but it was.
A lot of small businesses like
I
that.
couldn't believe it. Like I've sold software. Like I couldn't believe it. At the companies I worked at, if you didn't reply to a lead within like an hour, you were getting screamed at. It was crazy. I digress.
Yeah.
So I spin my wheels for 3 months trying to get this done. And then one night I'm like, fuck it. Let me just go on Alibaba. Dude, I had a sample in the mail like within 2 days. And I was like, holy shit, this is how this works. And then I took it and at the same time, I bought all the raws myself. And I was just not only trying it, but I was giving it to people to try. And I'm laughing already because I gave it to the full spectrum. I gave it to some of the retarded people that I know and like some of the smartest people that I know. And, like,
You had to see. You had to test it out.
You have to. Like, it's very easy to take a supplement and give it to all your yeah. You know what I'm saying, though? Like,
Yeah, you're retarded. Take this.
yeah. Well, I didn't phrase it like that. I was like, yeah, you don't really dabble with this stuff. Here, can you try this?
Yeah.
Tell me how you feel. But that's what I did at first. Then I ordered samples. The samples came. Then I gave it to a wider array and tasted the flavor. And there was a back and forth. I had this with 2 other overseas manufacturers. Picked the best one, the most reputable, good manufacturing practice, FDA approved, all that stuff. They have a U.S. presence as well and whatnot. And then here we are, 2 years later, basically. Not 2 years.
You just loaded up the ads manager and ripped it?
No. The company launched mostly with ex-influencers, my own personal brand, and like outside influencers on Instagram and whatnot. So I would say the first 3 to 4 months of sales were mostly influencer driven. That doesn't mean I didn't have an ads manager and I wasn't experimenting, but I had never ran ads for any company.
This is probably a sensitive topic, and you can tell me if you don't want to answer it, because I know we talked a little bit before about not saying this. I'm curious. Can you talk about like the sales you made?
Yes.
From the lens of like, you started from zero. You had a little brand on Twitter. You work with these ex-influencers. You put the formula together, and it's just an idea that came from your brain while you have your corporate job, and you put it together and you launch it. I'm just curious, can you speak about maybe some of the numbers behind that, because it's inspiring for a lot of people?
So I shipped my first orders. They landed, the product finally landed at my 3PL. I used the 3PL out of the gate, by the way, because I had pre-sold. So April 12th, 2023, I started a pre-sale. I was testing demand on Twitter and everywhere else to see if people would buy it. And from April 12th till July 12th-ish when it landed, so 3 full months, I sold $12,000 of product. Not amazing, but enough where I was like,
in the pre-sale.
This is just pre-sale. It didn't even exist yet. It was 20.
How many followers you have?
At the time, maybe like 6,000 or 7,000. But I was like
Really, you had that many?
Like right around there.
Okay.
I was anonymous at that time too.
Yep.
Actually, funny enough. But anyway, I digress. So I sold 12 grand from April to July, and again, just X, nothing else, and a little bit of meta ads to test. July hits, and I finished July after I start shipping product and tell everyone it's here. I did 8 grand. Then August, I had a big influencer pop off a little bit. I did 13. And then September, I did 9. And then I've never done less than 5 figures in sales since
sick.
then. So 2023, I ended at $99,870 in sales. It was literally like $100 off, $130 off, $100.
That's sick in 7 months.
Less. Because I don't even really fully count the pre-sale. It's like 5 months of shipping product. If you want to include it, you can.
That's sick, bro.
It was cool. It was enough to be like 100.
I mean, that's 20 G's a month on average.
Yeah.
From a new business.
November and December were over 20.
I mean, if anyone's listening to this and you're hearing this, it's just it
but
just shows how possible
really
it is.
Drive it home, no experience. I am not special. I'm not smarter. It just was.
It won't happen to everybody, but it shows how possible it is. I think a big factor. This is a big factor in my opinion. You were older. You were 31 at the time of launch?
Yes.
31 at the time of launch. I look at that and I'm like, dude, if I started my business and I was 31 with the life experience, I probably would have smashed it way faster out of the gate. And I'm not saying that to
sales and marketing. So
yeah,
it's not like I'm a complete rookie to.
I'm not saying that to discredit you, but I was like 18, 19 trying to figure it out. I'm a kid. I don't know anything. I'm learning life at the same time. I'm trying to figure out what going from a teenage guy to an adult looks like.
I had a kid during that time too.
Yeah.
In November of 23, I had my son.
And I think people sometimes start to think it becomes too late to start, but probably because they see all these kids online doing decent and making money.
And also, a lot of them are lying.
Yes.
I got a quick side story.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm going to give no details because I don't want it to come off as this. But there is someone in our space, adjacent, whatever, that talks a lot about e-commerce as an authority or something related to e-commerce, right?
Okay.
They're a big authority. They're in a group of other people that are authorities. They're well respected, and they're always giving advice and showing different things and whatever. And
do I know this person?
We can talk off.
Whatever.
But it doesn't. The point. That's not the point. The point is that this is an authority figure in the space. And the other day, one of my friends went on their website, their brand, and Ramp has 2 times their traffic. And I still feel like a retard. I feel like a small fish and whatever. But then this person who's giving all this advice to everyone like has half my traffic.
Don't meet your heroes.
Yeah.
Not that he was your hero, but
it's dude, you deal with imposter syndrome a lot. Even still, like right now, I have a business that's worth a lot of money, and like I still like I don't know
how it
anything.
is. Yeah.
I don't know anything. So stuff breaks, and I'm asking ChatGPT just like everyone else is, or I'm asking a friend that has more experience. I'm not like no savant. It's just learning how to YouTube stuff. Literally, that's it. That's the whole thing.
Every day it's like a new download, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
You know, I went through a period recently, the past maybe 3 months, where we rebuilt all of our marketing. All of it. Everything from the ground up. AI, outbound systems, calling systems,
You were
our
putting in late nights,
CRM.
talking about those 2 a.m. nights. You were going hard.
For a month.
Yeah, I remember.
For a month. A lot of that's turning on right now. This is part of it. I'm now, because all that's in place, I'm able to go do podcasts again. I'm able to go film long form. I have my team clipping stuff up now. If you go to my IG, it's going to be populated like crazy at the time of this episode. That was a massive period of just like sit down, grind, 3 months, like 2 a.m.s, all of that. And there was just imposter syndrome in that. Of like, why am I...
You're not a software engineer, and you were like building all this AI stuff.
Yeah, we have some custom AI stuff that I just
But
figured out.
You just did it. Like I remember you would come to the gym the next day and be like, "Yo, I just had a break, dude. Like did this crazy thing. I trained it on XYZ," and I was like, "Damn, bro." Like just googling it though. I know it sounds so.
Or AIing the AI.
AI. How would you write this as a prompt for this?
Or literally learning how to plug code in. Hey, I want to do this. Here's a picture of this. Blah, 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 blah. Tell me how to do this. What code do I need?
Insert this in the HTML to
Boom.
make it work? All that. Like it's literally that simple.
It's real.
Yeah,
it's real. And so it's every
different
day.
AIs for different things.
Yes.
Like Claude still. I know people are back and forth on it, but for copywriting, like
It's best for writing. Claude is best for writing. So we take the Claude and then we plug it into our custom stuff, and now we have our Claude as our foundation, and it was all custom, blah, 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 done. And I was just doing this, figuring it out. But like I said, day after day of like download after download. I hate when people say, "Oh, I'm just figuring it out as I go." And the reality is I know exactly where I'm going, and I think you know exactly where you're going, but there's things you have to learn throughout that process because it's new to you. You haven't done it before. And so it's not that
Let me ask you a
you...
question real quick. Pause. It's important at this point.
Do it.
What would you say was the hardest thing for you to learn? Because I have my answer, but I'm very curious of yours. And I'm talking about
Overall...
to running a business. What was the hardest thing for you?
That's a damn good question. I gotta think for a second. I mean, you hit me and I gotta think.
And I didn't ask it to answer myself. I'm just
Yeah, go for it.
For me, it was I know how to work, but I didn't know how to optimize work. So like I hate people doing like work hard porn, hustle porn. But like I work 10 plus hours a day. If you include all the time I spend on my phone, all that stuff, like it's 12
Before you
hours.
continue, I will just add, that is required. I don't think the dream of work 4 hours a day from your phone on a beach is a thing, because I personally haven't experienced
You
it.
can work from the beach, but you're on your phone. You're like this on the beach. Literally, like you're...
Yeah, it's just not going to be the same. You can go to the club, but you're probably going to be on your phone answering
I
messages.
took my wife to the Bahamas for a long weekend, and literally 3 to 4 hours a day, I was just sitting like this over the lounge chair with my laptop. It was amazing. I was like in the Bahamas on the beach getting like a Diet Coke brought to me on ice, but I was working.
That's what I did in Spain. Keep going.
Exactly. The point I was getting to is just like, you can spend those 8 to 10 hours doing nonsense. You can watch a YouTube video. You can answer your accountant. None of that shit moves the needle. If you're not doing revenue generating activities, and by the way, I still am nowhere near the best at this. As I'm saying, this is like from me and to me. You need to like take the Hormozy route. Like take 4 hours in your morning and just like make content, make ads, and then like do all your admin stuff. And then at night, like traffic your ads, like whatever, and break it out. But like you need to move the fucking needle. And for me, that was hard to learn.
There's many things.
Yeah.
I think that, when I was starting, it was figuring out how to be serious about this, and be somebody that is capable. I really think the success of your business depends on the person that you become. You have to become the person that's capable of running the business. You have to become the person that's capable of managing the stress of having a bunch of employees and expenses and all this stuff going on and things going wrong. And going into it blind at the start was really difficult because I was a teenager while selling cars. What's that?
I said so young.
So young, which I think I didn't even start that young compared to a lot of people.
But it's impressive still.
Thank you. And going into it blind of, I don't know what I'm actually doing here.
Yeah.
Like, I have goals and I know where I'm going, but I don't know this space at all. Let me figure it out. And to me, there's really two things that have to be figured out in business. The first one is figuring out what it is I'm trying to do and like what it is that I need to do. That's what it is you're trying and what it is you need to do in regards to getting to your goal. And then once you have that, which takes a long time. I think it takes a couple of years for a lot of people.
And it's not just like sitting in your room in your little notebook.
Yes.
This is my goal.
Yes.
Like,
you got to go test some stuff. You got to go try some things.
Yeah.
It's probably easier if you're older because you don't have to figure out what life is like a man as well at the same time. But regardless, like figuring out what to do. But then the second thing is figuring out how to do it and how to work. How do I actually take this idea and this thing that I have to do and ship it? What does that look like? What is the process? There's a testing process. There's a building process. There's a making sure it's good process. Then there's like, oh, this is running and somebody else is managing it for me process. I think the thing that has actually gotten me caught up the most and like maybe held me back or been a roadblock is skipping those steps. Where I go, okay, this is what I have to do. I'm going to hire a VA to go into my DMs and answer the DMs. I didn't give them a framework. I don't even know how I want it done. So if I don't know how I want it done, how am I going to have them do it? How am I going to show them a good example? Same thing with video editing. Same thing with the product creation.
It's one of the biggest come to Jesus moments I had with ecom. So I have one or two like really experienced ecom people that like advise me. And when I was talking about when I still worked and I was outsourcing a lot, one of the things he said to me was like, bro, stop. You don't know how to do this shit. You can't outsource this. And like, did I know how to go into the ads manager and start a campaign and put an ad in there? Sure. Did I know how to do manual attribution and make sure that Facebook wasn't taking more credit and actually go into Shopify and do yada, yada, yada? Did I know the cadence to send an email, how to segment audiences, all that stuff? Kinda. I could have Googled it, but I didn't really know. And then I outsourced it. To your point. It's just to your point.
As the owner, you have to know everything.
You need to know.
You have to know everything. You should probably touch everything in your business before you outsource it. I think there's certain things like, all right, let's say outbound dialing on my business. If you get our playbook, which is free, we're calling you. I'm not calling you, though, because I don't have time to do that. My job is content now.
Your job is to join the call after it's set and they had the initial discovery. Or
not even.
Not even.
That gets handed off to the closer now. But I used to close those deals. You know, I never did the outbound because that's something we added later. But that's like one of those.
It's throwing shit at the wall. It's an entry level job.
Yeah, but that's like one of those things where that's a time suck. That is a full time job day to day. Everything else would break if I did that right now. And so I've done some dials. I've caught up with some people.
You don't have to explain yourself either, dude. You have a successful business.
Well, yeah,
so
but also I'm explaining. Yeah, I'm explaining that is very minimal. Me just roll, boom, 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 put this person in place, train them. I hire someone else to train them. Even then, I hired someone else to make that process and train that has done that before, and they're very experienced. Everything else that I've done, I'm training a new marketer right now. We had our marketer quit last July. He wanted to go run his own thing. We're still great friends. I want to preface that. No bad blood. Now, because some of you might know. Now, from there, I decided to tear everything down because I realized he's the marketing and rebuild it. We're talking about this AI stuff. We're talking about this and that, all these systems, whatever. That's what I was doing. Downloads, right? Downloads from God, just like showing me the way. So done all that. And then I brought one of our sales guys up to be on the marketing team. And with him on the marketing team, he's never done it before. So he has a sales background, but he's never done this before. And so I basically said, I've done this, this, and this. These are pieces that are in place. You're going to do this now. And then he would mess up, and I would say, fix this, fix this, fix this. That's the training process. Somebody comes in, you put them in place, they mess up, and then you train them to not mess up, and then they're good.
Pro tip, do it on a Zoom call and record it.
Yeah.
When you train them, because then you have an SOP or a training video that's there, and you don't have to do it.
And you can clean it up later with like Loom video or whatever, but yeah.
It doesn't matter. The point is just like...
You got to document it. Document that process.
And if you're like me and the thought of typing something up in a Word document makes you want to die, It's the easiest way to do it.
And so the point is, I built everything before I handed it to him. I built the sales process before I handed it to the sales team. I built the fulfillment process before I handed it off to fulfillment guys.
Yeah.
We have those people now, but I did it first. And I messed up previously because I didn't do it first. And that was a major, major mistake. I tried to go too fast. People go speed, speed, speed. And I think speed's real. You got to move fast. You want to, yeah. But there's a point where you can move too fast where the process isn't even built and you bring someone in and you waste a bunch of money. And I've done that so many times. And I learned my lesson the hard way.
Yeah. Dude, so many lessons. I could go on for like the next hour about things I fucked up on. But
what was the biggest loss of money?
I had a bad situation with some contractors that I'm not going to get into any details about. That was one. Another was I fed into the stop being a pussy, spend more money on ads. And I was, and it was like kind of working. But the thing is, like, you spend $3,000 to $5,000 a day on Meta and you're in the negative and you just do that for a week or two, all of a sudden, you're $30,000 in the hole.
Yep.
And like, you don't even, it happens so fast. And
I've done it with YouTube ads before.
Yeah, exactly.
30K gone, blink of an eye.
Exactly. So like, yeah, you get data, you learn, but like if you're not doing numbers that can support a $30,000 loss,
Yeah.
you're fucked. It's not just testing anymore. It's like your only cash that you have, or you have a credit card bill that's $50,000.
And it's tough because your margins are slim in ecom, especially when you're growing, right?
The thing is, the gross margins are great. Like what I pay for it and what I sell
Yeah,
it for
cost
is
of goods.
fantastic, but everything in between is so
Shipping.
much. That's why affiliate's the best way. Like you look at Comfort, that sweatshirt,
That clothing
on
brand.
TikTok,
Yeah.
they did like 200 and something million last year or something. It's
crazy.
But they have everyone.
Because I've heard of them, but I don't really know them.
It's almost all affiliates. Like I shouldn't say that. I don't know the inner workings of Comfort's business, but what they get praised for the most, from what I hear in the space, is they have a very, very good affiliate program.
Wow.
They give retainers. Yeah. They train. They have weekly calls. The CEO gets their numbers for the best affiliates and treats them like employees. So that's like, and the reason I bring that up is it's a controlled ROAS on affiliates and influencers. If you have performance based, think about it. If I pay you 50% commission, it's a 2 times.
It's very easy to project those numbers.
Yeah. And stay profitable if you just can.
That's another key point that I think people don't realize, like the predictability. If you have a predictable business, a predictable business is almost better on your mental health instead of a business that has a potential to profit crazy high, but could also go crazy low.
Yeah. I'm going to give some generic advice for anyone who's just starting. If you're experienced and watching this, you probably know this. When you're dealing with influencers or anyone that's going to push your product, if they want a performance-based deal, you want to go flat fee. If they want a flat fee, you want to go performance-based. Because it's always like, why? Why is that the one that you think is best for you? Just generic advice, but it's
the person that thinks that performance would be best for them, you're probably going to have to pay them way more in performance than a flat fee, and vice versa.
Sell this,
and vice versa.
Yeah, exactly. You don't think you can sell this, so that's why you want me to give you $5,000 for it.
Yeah.
No.
The influencer space has changed a lot. I had a different question. About what
affiliates, and you're talking about return.
Before that, we were talking about. I don't even know. Oh, the business, the business like setup and mistakes, and the most money I've lost.
Yeah, what did you lose?
There's 2 times. One, those YouTube ads we ran, just big chunk, $30,000, didn't get any sales from it.
Oy.
They just kept going.
Yeah.
That's 30 G's gone in about a month and a half.
You can't get. There's no like.
Doesn't come back. Doesn't come back.
Can I get a return?
So that's the reality. You just boom, gone.
Yeah.
The other one is hiring people that I shouldn't have hired, or hiring them too early, or hiring the wrong people.
It's a waste of time and money.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of the last couple of years, because it adds up. You have a team. You didn't need a couple of them. Oh wow. Okay. Wow, that money's just gone. Boom. Poof. Adios.
Hiring's hard. I haven't gotten there yet. I've hired in the corporate world in terms of like someone to work with me, but I've never hired for my own business.
I've sort of figured it out. I only hire for my audience now.
Hormozy has a pretty good framework and information on this in general.
Does he?
Shout out to Alex Hormozy. Yeah,
I've never seen it.
I know he's a controversial figure, but I do think he puts out some real quality.
I don't see any controversy in him. I don't know. I'm also a little bit numb to this stuff because I've been on the internet for a while and like
everything's controversial.
And also, do you deal with problems every single day that are just rough? And it's like, I don't know. I'm just numb to it.
Information has helped me a lot, so I'm grateful to him.
His old stuff was really cool for me to see. I don't know. His new stuff I don't resonate with, but his old stuff was super cool. Regardless, I only hire for my audience. That's it. You know, culture fit is first.
Yeah.
Then you have the skill. I have almost 50,000 people on Twitter. So it's like there's got to be somebody in there that's sold before, somebody in there that's done content before. If I talk about content all the time,
they're following you.
Yeah, if they're following me, yeah. I had an influencer question. The UGC space has changed.
Yes.
You know, we talked about the AI stuff, but influencers previously it was like you go to an influencer, you give them this big brand deal and all that. And now you have these UGC creators that are just making videos, I guess, of the product. I don't know if they're. It's a little bit different than
like
trying to
like Billo.app or like any.
I don't know. I'm not familiar with that.
It's a marketplace where you can just like pay $100 for a video.
Got it. So how do you see them being used? Are influencer deals like influencer deals like still a thing where you pay a creator like $100,000 for a video, and I'm sure that's still there like a brand deal. But then the UGC comes in where it's like people are just making videos. You're not even trying to access to their audience.
So it's interesting. I think it depends on how big you are, first and foremost.
The influencer or the brand?
The brand.
Okay.
Like, if you can spend $50K on an influencer for awareness, and $50K is like a drop in a hat for your brand because you're doing $5 million a month, maybe it's worth it. Maybe the association with Barstool Sports and your brand is worth it.
I'm going to pop in for one thing before you continue. I think that influencers like that really work if you're everywhere. If you're not just one, but like 10 influencers.
You have to thunder and lightning it.
Because it's like a mind share.
Where the fuck did this come from?
Yeah. It's the same thing with clips right now and how people are blowing up their personal brands with clips. One clips page isn't enough. You need 20. But then you get 20 in the niche, you have mind share. People are watching it all over the place. Sorry to cut you off.
Nick come from?
Yeah.
No, but seriously.
Soon enough.
So I agree. The other thing that you have to think about is like, what is this influencer influencing their audience about? So like you may think that a fitness influencer will work for a supplement, but is it, or you know who would work better? The guy who looks at the labels in GNC and makes videos and goes, look at this trash.
Yes.
Because people trust their opinion on this.
So a lot of it's brands being smart.
Yeah, you have to just look at if they're actually influential in the areas that will sell your product. I think that's one. The other aspect is just like, I do think we're at the end of them being overvalued like that. Like I had a conversation recently, no names once again, and the numbers that they sent me for a post, I was like, are you guys out of your mind? Do people actually pay this? I actually got a little nasty on it. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Was it like a influencer or was it like one of these?
Big page. Multiple millions of followers
like
across a bunch of
personal
platforms.
brand.
Yeah, it's like multiple people. It's a media.
Got
it's
it,
like a small media, but like 3 million followers across everything. Plus,
Got it, yeah.
You know, hundreds of thousands of impressions. And I asked them, I was like, do you guys have any metrics for sales of brands that can back up these prices? And the reply was like, it's awareness. And I was like, awareness?
They're covering their ass.
Yeah. But the point is just like, maybe that, to my point I said earlier, if you're big enough, maybe awareness is important to you and the association works. But when you're scrappy and small, you just need direct ROI or you're going to burn cash. Like cash flow management is everything in the company.
What do you think about these brands that don't use any influencers and are growing organically? I look at Kill Crew, for example. I'm sure you're familiar with them.
Yes.
No influencers. They just have people wearing it organically.
I think it's incredible. I wish I was better at it.
Okay.
If I'm being honest, like you want to talk about something like if I could snap my fingers, there was a genie of ecom and could grant me something. It was like, here's your talent of being a social.
Those boys are awesome, by the way, that own that brand.
Shout out to Kill Crew.
They're sick.
So, well, I guess the teacher thing's pretty good. They got a lot of impressions recently.
Yeah, the teacher was arrested with the hoodie.
A lot of free press.
He said, I saw him on Twitter, Colty said the sales are up 30%. Nuts. That's nuts.
Oh no.
From the teacher
Shout out to
video.
you guys. That's awesome.
But what do you think about that? Like you use influencers as like a main thing. Like what would have to change with your brand to switch to a model like them where it's just pure ads and organic and customer base?
I think you're a better person to actually answer this
Okay, that's
question.
fair.
But in my opinion, is at the end of the day, social media and the reason people follow or share or whatever is value. Is that value humor? Is that value information?
Yeah.
Is it value whatever? Is it value big titties from an OnlyFans girl? It doesn't matter to them. It's a value, and that's what I'd have to get better at.
My thinking is it's not even necessarily value. It's when people buy their merch, for example, they're buying into a cult like message.
Yes.
And when people buy your thing, they're buying into the emotional message of I need this to be somebody at the party. And I think that and believe that a lot of the brands that do rely on purely influencer, this is at least my thinking, probably need to be a little bit more emotionally getting their audience to emotionally invest a little bit more on the organic paid ad side if they were to go away from influencers. It's the same way we build personal brands. It's like, why would somebody follow you? Why would somebody trust you? I can tell the story of how I started at 19 and did the whole thing and tried and failed and was selling cars and dropped out so people can emotionally invest in that because they can relate to that situation.
I think founder forward stuff is really important too. If
Like
people
why the brand was started,
or just like being like the content being around the founder, and like if people like you, they will buy from you. Everyone who buys from X is because, not to like pat myself on the back, they like me.
well, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Why did you buy from me? Why did you become our client? Probably could relate to me.
Exactly. But that's all jokes aside. That's really what happened. I followed you for a while. I was like,
Let me ask about that. What was the reason you joined? Why? I'm not trying to get like this testimonial thing right now. I'm just curious as like personally. I always ask people that buy from me why.
It didn't have a lot to do with you.
Okay.
You were the best person that I had found for the thing.
Okay.
At that moment, right? I was kind of back against the wall. I did not have my funding locked in yet. I was working, and I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? I need more income coming in.
So you can get out.
And I need more impressions for the brand. It's like, what the hell am I going to do? I was like, you know what? Personal brand. I think I already have this. I have this machine. Let me get into it. Right as we started talking, I locked in funding.
Nice.
And that's why, to be honest with everyone, right, we kind of like tabled it for a little while, like whatever. We're friends, and that's great. But from a client point of view, we like tabled it just because like my priorities changed like overnight when that happened.
And when you say the best for what you were looking for, what were you looking for?
Someone who's serious.
About what though?
About being able to like build personal brand. Like you do a great job with social proof and like showing like actual results.
Thank you.
But it's important.
Yeah.
Like, dude, do you think some 19-year-old European in my DMs like I will ghostwrite for you is like respond to? No, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like you were the only person that I saw like doing the thing, and you're well liked, and
thank you.
And the way I related to you, and that's why it happened.
Cool.
Like to be honest, it's not talking shit. I didn't need to be sold. I was coming.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were already looking for it. It made sense, and we were connected, and yada yada whatever. Yeah. It's always curious to hear why people buy.
Yes.
I ask people, it's like, what was the thing? A lot of people say the playbook. They read our playbook and they go, oh fuck, like wow.
This is sauce.
Yeah, and they go to what's on the inside. It's always I've just surveyed a lot of people. It's always very interesting.
And for anyone just getting started, you should do what Nick sells, or you should become a TikTok affiliate, or in some way, you should learn something that has a very low bar to entry and allows you to learn how to sell shit on the internet, because that can be used to fund your ecom brand or your SaaS or your service or whatever you want to do. But the lowest hanging fruit is what Nick offers, is making videos.
Let me break my thesis down.
Yeah, please.
I think that a complete beginner. Okay, so before I even go there,
you got like deep thoughts on.
Yeah. Like
let's go.
Let's
go.
I think that all of this comes down to traffic. If you have traffic, you can direct that traffic wherever you want it to go.
Yes.
And if you're good at getting traffic, you are valuable. And traffic, aka eyeballs, people watching your content, you're getting views from people. And so like TJ, for example, gets a lot of his traffic from paid ads, meta ads. Yes. He gets his traffic from Twitter. AKA, that's why he sold all the supplements pre-sale and did 100K in his first 6 months, was because he had the audience on Twitter and got traffic from Twitter. So traffic, eyeballs, will buy the product. I think that traffic is more important first. We help everyone that we help. We get the traffic first before we do the product. What are you going to say?
Just real quick, like simple math. 100,000 impressions at a 1% conversion rate is 1,000 sales.
Yes.
Like, I know it sounds like, oh, wow, no way. But, like, think about it.
But people don't do the math on that. Oh, well, what's my product got to be? I got to put the PDF together and this and that.
10,000 impressions at 1% is 100 sales. If you're selling something that's $100, that's a lot of money. For someone who's just starting out, like, come on. That's 10K.
So the game is traffic. The game is traffic. You can't grow a business without traffic. To me, people go, well, product is the 100% the number one thing. I think product is very important, and you have to have a good product, and you have to, like, I'm going to preface this with the fact that you have to deliver for your customers. But product is number 2 to me, because if you don't have anybody there to see the product and buy it, you make no money. And the purpose of business is to make money.
A lot of shitty products made a lot of money.
It's true. It's true. And I hate to say that, and I'll never sell a shitty product.
In my space.
Oh, the subspace, yeah. But regardless, product is number 2, traffic is number 1. And so you need to be somebody that can get traffic. If you're already experienced, you're someone like TJ, start a personal brand. You have an ecom brand, document it. Maybe you're also documenting the come up. You can do that too if you're not that experienced in something. You're good at baseball. Dude, we have baseball coaches we help. We have basketball coaches we help. People that are super jacked without steroids that we help. We have dude that gets 250K followers after a year and a half on IG, just blew up. He's just super jacked. We just help him make videos good. And now he sells something. He's great.
He's funny.
He's great. I'll probably have him on here at some point as well.
You should.
He's just over in Europe chilling. So, whatever.
Nice life.
But traffic is number 1. So if you're already experienced, dude, go the personal brand route. Your personal brand is your business card. That's how I look at it. Why am I going so hard right now? My goal, I tweeted this the other day, my goal right now is to get to 50 million views a month between short form, Twitter, and long form. If I can do that, my business grows exponentially, and then there's a project, behind the scenes. Maybe some of you have seen it before. I'll probably launch it to everybody that's on my personal brand,
You made a really important point, though, about waiting on the product. Do not try to sell your 200 people a product, please.
No,
if you want to grow.
Oh, no, I disagree. I've seen people sell with 200 followers, but they focus more on I'm saying don't focus more on the product than the growth.
That's a better
Focus
way.
on the growth first rather than the selling.
Don't put, what I meant is don't shill.
Yes.
That's a better way of probably.
You
don't be a shill. If you're like plugging it automatically under every tweet nonstop and like
yes,
talking,
that's a problem. Don't do that.
People are going to be like, get the fuck out of here.
When I do it all the time now, but I'm 50K followers. I have the social proof. I can do it. We had a guy with 200 followers that did 30K his first month.
That's crazy.
But he had a crazy offer. The offer was crazy good. And so we just packaged it together. Boom. He just went and crushed it. You just can't, you have to focus on growth first before the selling in that case. The other thing, if you're a beginner, the best thing you can do is know how to get traffic, AKA clipping. For free, right now, you can go and download this podcast and you can clip it up. You can put it somewhere and you can start a page that's like Nick Talks on IG. And you could start clipping me onto IG from this, and then you can approach me and be like, oh, can I affiliate your product? And I might just say yes, if you do a good job. That's an opportunity. You could also start your own theme pages. That's how I got started. I started with theme pages. Clipping is, to me, and we're going to be talking about this a lot more, clipping is probably like the thing right now, because you can start your own pages from it, and you can also approach other people and be like, I can get you traffic for your ecom brand, for your personal brand, for your software, whatever it is. And so to me, it's like, if you know how to get traffic, you're a winner.
Dude,
whether it's your personal brand, whether it's your clips,
on
whatever.
On top of clipping, you can use Claude to get a script. You can use ChatGPT to make the images. You can use, Kling to animate it. I think Kling.ai.
I've never heard of that.
I'm pretty sure it's Kling.ai. This is sauce I got from someone else. This is not my own sauce. But anyway, you can get a script. You can get images, and then you can animate the images, all with AI.
And you can put the voice in there with 11 Labs.
And you never have to show your face. You can just have Nick's voice, and then you can create your own B-roll.
Or that, yeah.
And they can create B-roll. And they never have to they don't have to even pay for stock stuff. You have to pay the $20 a month AI subscription, and that's it.
Yeah. Then that's for a complete beginner, or you're at your job right now, you don't know what you want to do, you don't know any special, you want to make some money. Bro, learn how to get traffic.
And it's 1 week. I promise you, by one week in of just grinding on this, they're going to have results.
If you spend 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
Not some like...
Yeah, not 10 minutes. Not 10 minutes. You don't do it first try.
Yeah. I mean, let's go back to the point of work, hard work.
Sure.
You said you didn't want to like be this hustle porn motivation guy. I mean, okay, we're not going to do that. This is not hustle porn motivation. But
You want me to talk about my day, like what it looks like right now?
we can talk about that. I mean, I can talk about mine. Also, just the point of like, dude, I just drive home the point. It takes 12 hours a day.
It's just doing what needs to be done. At the end, like there's nothing, there's no other sauce. It's just like, I got 10 things to do today. I got to do these 10 things. Maybe I can push 2 to tomorrow, but those are the lowest priority.
Yeah.
Like, whatever, I got to do these other 8. And then you just get them done.
Do you think it's important to love what you do?
No. I think it's important to focus on what you're good at. I think it's way more important.
I do think that there's some...
I think you start to love it as things
As you get good at it.
Who doesn't love shit they're good at? You ever met someone that's like amazing at piano?
Yeah.
It's like, I hate piano. It's not how it works. Like you're good at shit. People are like, oh my god, you're so good.
Yeah.
Like yeah, you got one example where they're like dad belted them to play the piano when they were a kid. But outside of that, like one extreme example, like if you're really good at something,
You probably
and
like
get
it, yeah.
praise and you get feedback and results, like you're probably
There's a spiritual, connection there almost. And we've never talked about anything like that.
No.
I'm curious if you view business at all in the spiritual lens. But there's something like
I think it's
you're
all
good at
spiritual.
something, the creation of it. There's something very spiritual about that creation, and it's very godlike. I'm curious, what did you say? I didn't hear.
I don't even remember what I said.
Oh.
The point, I've never been happier. I'll tell you that.
Okay.
I know what I said. I said that the biggest aspect of business for me was the personal development, right? Like
Oh,
you're
yeah.
building a business, and on the other end, you actually built yourself. That is the most
Yeah.
real shit you've ever heard. Like,
And so even if the business crumbles tomorrow and you lose all that money, you're still you, the person that's done all that. And so you can start from scratch because you have all of that, whatever it is, from the spiritual side, the mental side, the actual skill side.
you know what else too? I'm sure you agree with this. Talk about spiritual. There is nothing better at stripping you bare and showing you what you suck at than a business.
Business problems are personal problems.
There's fucking no one. Like I am not the person that's gonna build a crazy Excel spreadsheet. I don't have the attention span.
Yeah.
But like that's why my finances were a mess for a long time, right? Like it reveals it all. You're standing naked in front of the metaphorical camera and like it's pointing out all your flaws.
Yeah.
A business does that 100%. It also shows you what you're good at. And then you can also then decide, okay, where do I need to outsource after you learn it? And it all just kind of comes to a head, but that shit takes time.
Facts. I've experienced that every single day.
Yeah, still
every
do.
single day.
Still do. And then you get like, outside people giving you comments and whatever. And it really hits home because you're like, yeah, that's right. Because it shows in my numbers and in my revenue. There's no hiding from it.
What do you think? I'm coming back in camera here. What do you think about the opinions of outside people? How did you deal with that? Did you deal with that?
Yeah. It took me at least a year of running this to not take shit personally.
While you were at your job.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like running the brand. And
Yeah.
The first year of putting shit out on the internet and having people be
Okay.
like, "You're ugly," like that. It took me a year to be like, okay, they're just projecting.
What about friends and family? Because to me, the internet's easy to ignore. I think for a lot of people, the friends and family thing is tougher because that's like your inner circle.
What's been weird is no one really in my life has done anything like this. That's like in my circle, and I have like a pretty robust, social and friend. Like I'm from this area, everyone's here. Like I have a robust social life. So no one really says anything to my face. Like it's only praise that I've really gotten. I've had a couple of times where someone's like tried to insinuate like, oh, your little business. And one time over the summer, someone hit me with do you make any money from that business? And I was just not in the mood, and I was like, way more than you think. I was just not in the mood.
What was the reaction?
She was just like, and then I just let it like die there. But
She's a woman?
This
She was judging? She was judging?
She was judging. She was testing the waters.
I love women, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
Just kidding.
No, but this is just one example, and I'm not mad at the person or anything. It was just in that moment I was in a bad mood, and I got asked it in a way I didn't like, and I was like, way more than you think. But outside of that one instance, it's been pretty positive for the most part. I also think I don't brag about it, and I don't talk about it on like my personal Instagram and stuff like that a lot. So most people don't even know. All they know is that I have a supplement business and that I'm maybe they even know I'm full time. Some people don't even know in my life. So it's just kind of
That's
like
cool.
this esoteric
Low
thing
key.
that's out there, but I didn't change my car, I didn't change my house.
I also think you're older, And so people are just like, they don't care as much anymore.
They're still keeping up with the Joneses. It's just
Yeah.
different. It's different. It's like, what kind of BMW truck do you have for your family?
Yeah.
And like, which school are your kids going to? And less of like, did you rent a Ferrari and buy a bottle at?
It's so funny though how none of that shit actually matters.
None of it matters.
It's what do you think of people getting caught up in that, dude? It's like you see it everywhere. I see it with these kids in our.
Tribal. As people, we're tribal. Like,
I know.
Are you accepted or not?
But to me, it's like if you can ignore that shit, you're gonna win so big. Because besides business mistakes, where does everybody's money go? It goes to dumb stuff.
If you're spending more than $50K a month, you're an asshole. And hold on. When I say that, I'm talking about like
In relativity.
Like, I don't care how much money you're making. Like, you have to try to spend more than $50K. Let's take mortgage out of it, right? Because if you have a multi-million-dollar house or like rent or you have a crazy apartment, take that out of it. If you're spending more than, what are you spending 50 on? Are you flying private every month?
Bro, I see some of these kids, man.
And listen, it's all relative. If you have hundreds of millions of dollars, spend 100K.
It's different.
It's different. 200K a month, whatever. But
I find it really interesting the guys that are making in the hundreds per month are spending 50. That's a big chunk.
Crazy.
That's
crazy.
sometimes 20%, 10%.
At the end of the day, it's just like, are you making a fat nest egg? You can do whatever you want, bro. You want to spend 10K on or 20K at a club one night and hopefully have sex with a female, go do your thing, brother. But like, if you're doing it once a week,
Horrible place to meet good females, by the way.
yeah. And like, let me step off my old man pedestal for a second. As a young man, like being Jack stepping out of a Lambo is pretty fucking sick too. So if you can do it responsibly,
I think that's the key word. Like, you do it in a way that doesn't compromise your future. All respect to you. If you do it in a way,
$100K a month, you're spending $2K on a car. Sick, dude.
but if you do it in a way that like compromises your future, you could have retired your mom instead, or like you could have taken care of family, or your health is just trash, but you're spending all your money on that. Might be an issue. It's like I can't respect that as much.
Let's bring it to a more neutral ground here.
Okay.
I think most people, especially young men, are going to have a phase of that. If you're making money.
Totally.
I was broke when I was in that phase.
Totally.
So I did it, but I did it with $2 beers on a Tuesday night, right?
Yeah.
If you have mad money and you're young, whatever.
Yeah.
But you have to, like, cut it at some point.
Yeah, just don't compromise your future.
And I've heard this said before. There's a guy, Bowtie Broke, a huge real estate guy on Twitter that talks about you don't get it out of your system, you get it in your system.
I personally don't agree with that.
You don't agree with it. I don't fully agree, but I think there's truth to it.
I think it depends on who you are as a person. Someone that's got an addictive personality gets it in their system and it stays in there. Someone that is more like me, I don't have an addictive personality. It's good to try things and experience the negatives of things so you know not to go back.
It's good to have sex as a young man, too.
There you go. That's probably...
You shouldn't be alone in your basement.
Hey, I got out of the basement. Look... Look. The other point I want to make, because the question I asked you was like, did people care? When I was younger, people said shit. Now people are like, oh, I hope you're doing good.
Yeah.
I'm 26
I also
now.
stopped asking before I did anyone's opinions.
Like, what were you asking?
I'm talking about, like, let's give like the most basic example.
Okay.
When I was thinking about quitting my job, the only person I discussed it in depth with was my wife. And one or two people whose opinions I trust that are not in my family. They're like advisors, business people. My mom, my in-laws, whatever, they were told after the whole thing was fleshed out and ready to go.
Yeah.
I still told them before it happened, but it wasn't...
Such a good rule.
I didn't ask permission.
It's such a good rule.
It was just like, hey, this is what we're doing. I'm just letting you know.
Such a good frame, too. Sales guy.
Sales guy. But it's just, you have enough times of people projecting their own anxieties and what they can't see themselves doing onto you, and eventually you're like, I don't want this.
And they'll never know your situation fully, so it's not even worth talking about it. Yes. It's only worth going inside and being introspective and coming to decisions on your own and talking to a couple close advisors. Like, I can talk to my dad about all that stuff.
If I asked our parents' generation what they think is the safer route, if I do my business or if I quit everything and gone and became a fireman, making out of the gate like $40K a year, I love firemen. I'm from Staten Island, FDMY. I love you. I'm not talking about it as a shitty job. I'm talking about like from a economic stability moving forward path. I would have to restart, right? It would probably take me 10 years to get the top pay, whatever it would take me. They would tell me to do that instead of like the path I was on. Just because that's their frame. That's how they view the world, and that's fine.
But also, they're not even aware of what this information that we have now is.
Point. You brought up a really good point that they don't have any of the information. So that's why it's best to just be like, I'm doing this thing. It's going well.
Totally.
I'll keep you informed.
Totally.
As it goes.
100%. I mean, I would tell friends when I was younger because it's just like, this is what I'm doing. I'm cool, whatever. And there we go.
Dude, I talk a lot.
I tell people. I'd have people go, I don't believe you. Like, dude, I don't believe that you made money online. Like, I don't care, but like, are you crazy?
They're so mad.
Yeah, it's just like
there's like no fucking way.
What's
bro.
wrong with you?
You're like, yeah. It's like when this is a really funny one. Yeah, you ever when you were younger, like you got with a really hot girl, and your friends are like, no way, no you didn't, and you're like, yeah, I did. Same thing. I don't believe you.
You didn't talk to her even.
It's the same thing.
She didn't want you.
Yeah. No way. Yeah. No, I did it. But it's true. It's true.
And at the end of the day, it's not even worth telling anybody.
No.
That's the crazy thing.
But life is life. I don't like extremes on anything.
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna tell my friends.
It's different as a kid, though. It's different as a kid because a kid's like, I'm gonna brag. I got more status than this guy, whatever.
And also, when you're 19, your 19-year-old shithead friends have no qualms about telling people they shouldn't tell about it too.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard Nick keeps his cash in his glove compartment of his car. Like that shit's real. When you're young and everyone's dumb, like.
Yeah. So, before our camera runs out here, because for whatever reason one of them is running low.
We've been yapping though.
Hour and a half or something like that. My man. I want to talk about Northeast mindset.
Okay, let's do
before we go, because we talk about it sometimes. You know.
Yeah.
I have friends in California. I have friends in Texas. I got friends all over Florida, of course. The Northeast is interesting because almost wherever I go, and even I would say like it extends maybe to like Ohio a little bit. You know, some of the Midwest, like upper Midwest winters, like
coastal
a little bit.
But sure,
but
sure. We can be generous.
Look,
we can be generous for sake of the conversation.
Maybe it extends a little bit, but regardless, like the Northeast, there's something where I don't think I'm rude. I don't think I'm mean. But I definitely know I tell it like it is.
Tell the story of what happened with us.
What happened with us?
When we were setting things up.
I mean, yeah, we were setting things up, and I started laughing because he said something that was very just like direct to the point. Northeast.
Nick was like, "I'm so sorry. Like this isn't working." I was like, "Dude, it's fine."
It was broken. Our audio was broken.
There's no crazy story here, but just like that little interaction like sparked it for him. He was laughing because
it's funny because if I was saying that to someone in California, they'd be like, "Oh, dude, you know, blah blah blah," you know. And it's interesting the cultural differences because when maybe I like, you know, you banter with friends. You banter with your friend that's like from Orange County or whatever. Like, bro, like I'm just trying to surf, man. Like that was crazy. Like it feels like you're not even my friend. Yeah. And like up here, it's just like, yeah, like
something better to come back with.
Like pat you on the back, like yeah you're a bitch too, whatever.
Yeah. Where we grew up, both places, like if you weren't, everyone's a comedian. Like in like Jersey, New York, like in the immediate areas, like Long Island, even like a little upstate where you are. Like everyone's a comedian, and I say that in like a loving way because you will just be at the gas station and the guy pumping your gas will say some of the funniest shit you ever heard. I have a really funny story. I think I tweeted this, but it doesn't matter. Like 2 weeks ago, I am bald under this hat, but I still go to the barber.
You wear that hat everywhere. Huh?
I wear this hat. I wear a hat 99% of the time. I go to the barber to shave my head and do my beard up like once a week sometimes. Yeah, once a week. I go 2 weeks ago, I get my hair cut, he shaves it, he does my beard up, whatever. I get out of the chair, I turn around, like a 50-something-year-old guy goes, "Perfect, bro, every hair is equal length." And I started cracking up. It was the funniest thing I've ever heard. Like, how good of a chirp is that? I'm bald. He's like, "Perfect, bro, everything's perfect length."
You don't really get that anywhere else. You know?
Who would even take that risk? Elsewhere.
You don't get that in Miami. You don't get that in California. I've been to all these places. And so it's like it's very interesting the culture. And I'm curious, why that is. Is it the winter? Is it the weather? Is it the people? Where does it come from? Because people here don't care. They will talk shit to your face, and you'll give it right back to them, and that's how it is. That's the Northeast mindset. So I'm curious.
Well, if we go like to New York specifically, right?
Sure.
All the immigrants came through. Ellis Island, everything, right? So like a lot of type A, ambitious people came through 100 years ago. And all their families settled and like are in this area. Connecticut, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Long Island, like all that is where those people are. And then if you take on top of that it became like the financial center of the world. So the most ambitious people stayed there. That alone, that competition and that caliber of people all in one place is going to make people harder.
Yeah.
This is just, I'm going riffing off the top of my head, but I grew up in New York in the 5 boroughs my whole life, right? And this is how I see it, is that the combination of like not being sunny vacation type weather and being a financial capital and the place where if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. And that just continues on.
And everybody's a shark.
Everyone's a shark. And when all these transplants come into New York, the people that are, when you get a 22-year-old that graduated college and is like, I'm going to go work in New York City and get an apartment, that's an ambitious fucker.
Yeah.
You don't go pay $5,000 a month for an apartment at 22.
That's
and
right.
Go get the hardest jobs to get unless you're an ambitious person.
Totally.
And I think it's just the combination of ambition, the weather, and the last 100 years of people flooding in made it tough.
Sick, dude.
You know what's interesting about it, too? The last thing I'll say on this point?
Yeah.
If you take, like, where you think political sides and how they would act, New York, like, maybe some of, like, the things that are done by the city reflect it. No, but I don't even want to get... All I'm saying is the people, though, don't really reflect it. It's New Yorkers are like New Yorkers.
Dude, it's the immigrants, bro.
Yeah.
Dude, the immigrants
Everyone
are...
just, like, acts like a wimp.
Dude, the immigrants are voting blue, and, bro, I look at it like the people that are in New York City, like hard-nosed finance guys, how are they... I just don't understand how they're not. How they're not red.
Yeah, but my point that I was getting to is, like, I don't... We could talk about
Okay.
that for...
Okay.
You know how we talk about it for hours.
Yeah.
My point is just, like, it doesn't matter what side of the fence they're on.
Yeah.
New Yorkers just
Are New
act
Yorkers.
like
Yeah.
New Yorkers. Like, you get someone that views the entire world differently from you, they're still going to hold the subway door, but they're going to tell you, hurry up, you fat slob. They're still holding the door for you. It's kind, not nice.
Yeah.
Kind, not nice.
Yeah.
The intention is good. The intention is to help you. Nice, whereas what I think, if I'm going to chirp California is nice, not kind. California,
That's right.
Somebody's smiling at you but pressing door close on the elevator, whereas on the subway in New York City, you sneeze, someone's giving you a tissue, but like cover your mouth. But they're still giving you a tissue. They're still giving
That's
you a
how it
tissue.
is. That's how it is.
Yeah, that's just how it is.
Yes. Look, we're about to run out of battery.
Sorry.
We're about to run out of battery.
Yeah.
What do you want to leave us with here? What's a good point to leave on? A message.
I really, really, really want people to start. Like, and I think that what we were talking about before, making content is the way to start. Like, if you're like, you just watched this and you got a little hyped up after us watching, like, make the account right now. Go follow Nick.
Tap in.
Use
maybe purchase. Maybe purchase.
We'll get there. Ask Grok to go through his tweets and tell you how to start. Start. Make the account. Make your first bit of content today. And just get it going. And from there, who knows where it will take you.
Rip it. Like you can't think about it. If
Is that it?
That's it. So that camera just shut off. But regardless, guys, I got us right here. Yeah, rip it. That's the message of today's podcast. Go rip it.
Thank you for having me.
My man.
This was awesome.
It's great. We'll have to do this again when I have
A little more battery.
a charger that can connect to an extension cord. Regardless, guys, this was second episode of the podcast. If you guys like this, you want more of these, I'll keep doing them. Again, I may bring back the associates with Logan when we're in the same city, but I'll probably keep doing this at the same time as well. So if you want to follow Tommy, TJ, I don't know if I was supposed to say your full name here. I'll leave his link below, and you can find me on all platforms with my link below as well. Appreciate you guys, and see you in the next one.
Get started.